Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another weekly evening on Fair Life with Andrew McKee. And yeah, hey, great to see you all. Great to see you, Kurt and Kevin and Janine and Jan and Kathy and Tim and um, uh, Helly and Katsurita. So yeah, hello. Woo! Yes, yes, it has been an interesting time. And Sarit, hello. Wow. So yeah, I'm sorry I missed you last week. It was one of those crazy weeks, and I believe me on Sunday or Monday, on last Monday, I tried really hard. I was in the hotel. Internet connection seemed adequate, and I was ready to get going. I had a camera ready to go, and uh, quality seemed fine. And I OBS had an update, and generally their updates are very incremental and not a big deal. So I just went ahead and did it. Shouldn't have done that because it caused a lot of my plugins to stop working. It was a major update. So yeah, it caused some issues. I tried to work around it and work to update some of the plugins so that they would work. And I was kind of getting there, but by the time it was getting close to make a decision, I was kind of like, the odds are just pretty high that there's going to be a serious problem. So better not to risk it, and I'll see if I can do it later in the week. And it didn't really work out. So yeah, yes. And Janine, yes, yes, and yes, I am. Very, very much still recovering from Dragon Con. Yeah, wow, so much to talk to you about. I guess let's go ahead and just start with Dragon Con. Yeah, let's because yeah, here we are. I uh no worries, Drew. It happens. What I've been doing was I've been trying to start the show a bit earlier. The last few times I've done it, trying to at least start the intro about a minute before 7, just to kind of let people uh, check in and have a little leeway for people. So no, we're still in the intro, so you haven't missed anything. Don't worry, it's no problem. But yeah, Dragon Con, it was very crazy. I wanted to take a ton of pictures for y'all, but we ran into a problem. The tablet I normally use for taking credit cards at the table had an issue, so I ended up using my phone and leaving that at the table. So I really didn't have my phone with me for most of the convention, which I know is a little scary when you don't have your phone with you at an event like that and you're running from different hotels trying to do shows. And I did not have my phone with me. Yeah, it was a little freaky. I have to admit, that was a little unnerving. But we did great. Great shows, great sales. I mean, I'm very happy with everything. The Mike, Katrina, and Jamie did a great job helping out and uh, with the table, and everything went smashingly. I really have no complaints. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun, and they did it, as you can tell. I'm masked on here, and thanks, Kurt. I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm masked here, and they did a really good job of pushing that and enforcing everybody masking, which is good because there are about 65 to 70,000 people there. But yeah, they did a pretty good job. It wasn't quite as much as Gen Con several weeks ago because they enforced vaccinations where you couldn't get in without proof of vaccination. Uh, DragonCon didn't do that, but they at least enforced the masking thing, so that was something. I was very happy about that, and pretty much everybody wore masks, so it worked out okay. I didn't go out and party too much. I kind of stuck with the table crew, made sure they were all taken care of, and made sure I got sleep because a lot of shows, a ton of shows. But yeah, it went very well. And I think partly because I didn't go to all the parties and everything. Yeah, I got a negative COVID test when I got back, so I'm very happy about that. Yay! And so yes, and I know a few people who went did get positive tests. So it's just crazy time still, but it's always an adjustment. Always an adjustment. Now, one picture I did get that I was kind of happy about was this is all in front of the table where our table was for sales and where I was most of the time when I wasn't doing a show. But this T-Rex parade went by. And I've seen them do that in years past, but this was by far the longest it's ever been. I don't know how many dozens of those T-Rexes there were, but I took this picture about 5 minutes into the parade to give you an idea of how long it was. Those T-Rex costumes of all different colors and styles. It was just nuts. Over 100. It was crazy. I I don't know how else to say about that other than to say people at Dragon Con can be pretty nuts, but at least they're fun. Oh, and yeah, here's my badge from Dragon Con. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's they always do good artwork on their badges, so that's always kind of fun. But you can tell that it if you can look and it's not too blurry, um, it's you can see that it is representation of the video game, the old early '80s Laserdisc coin-op Dragon's Lair, and it has a gender swap where which is popular with cosplayers now. They'll do like a female version of Indiana Jones kind of thing, and it's been very popular for the last several years. And I think it was very good that Dragon Con did that on their badges. They always come up with great artwork, and doing the female lead from the game, who was the girl to be rescued, taking over as the knight who does the rescuing. I thought that was pretty clever. So yeah, anyway, if you're not familiar with the game, it was an early '80s early '80s game where it wasn't that much fun because of all memorization. It was pretty much like using a remote, knowing what button to push to go to the different part of the laser disc. You know, it's like DVD controls to go to different little short videos. That's kind of how it was, but it was the graphics were so phenomenal at the time. The game was popular in the early '80s. But yeah, uh, yes, yes, they did have the old Marriott carpet design. And true, Damaris, yes, you're right. You don't, and that's uh, and that's a common theme. And I'm really glad the artwork represented that just as much as the costumes. I love it when the artwork represents what's going on at the convention, and they do a good job with that. It's always fun, and it was a very fun con. But um, for me, it's tough because I'm not there to have fun. I'm there to work, and I most of the time I'm working. I'm at the table supporting the people who are helping me, and also trying to do sales and doing shows and preparing. And there's always quick changes, so I'm doing that. So yeah, I'm always have to remind myself that I'm in there in a domestic capacity, sort of. Yes. Okay, so yeah, as a gamer, pondering Dragon Con or Gen Con, how are they different? Yes. Well, I mean, they're a little bit. I mean, one's in early August and the other one's usually in very early September. So about 3 to 4 weeks apart. So yeah, you're right. They are a bit apart. Let's see. Dragon Con is more about costumes, for sure. More about cosplay. And it is all sci-fi fantasy based. A Gen Con is gaming. So if you like board games, if you like card games, if you like some video games, um, yeah, that is a great convention because you can play you can play games that aren't even released yet. You can beta test games and give your feedback, and the creators of the game will take your suggestions seriously. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff there if you are into gaming, but that's primarily what it is. So if that's not a huge thing for you, might not be as big of a deal. Now with Dragon Con, it originally was a science fiction fantasy convention. It's evolved into more than that. It has comic books. It has a little bit of everything. Really, it's just that big. But it is a lot of fun. So that's what I'd say. It depending on which one you want to do. It just depends. And of course, there are actors from and writers and directors and all that from different shows and uh, books that you like in the sci-fi and fantasy genre that will be there and give talks and sign autographs and all that. So if you're into that, that's pretty good too. So it just depends on your taste. I will say Gen Con is usually a little more laid back. Um, it's not quite as confined. So Gen Con is nice in that way. It's held at a large convention center, where Dragon Con is in small hotels that are you kind of feel like a sardine most of the time. But some people like that. And that's kind of it. That's kind of it. Dragon Con, it's fun, but the crowds can be a little overwhelming. Uh, Dragon Con, I think, is a little larger normally, but we're not exactly in a normal time frame right now because post COVID, the numbers like this year at Dragon Con, it was about 65, 70,000, and that's not what it normally is. It's normally more than that. Gen Con was what? I think around 50, 55,000, 55,000, I think, at Gen Con. And that's uh, not what it normally is. It's normally more than that too. But generally, I think Dragon Con has a few more people. It's usually around the 70, 80,000 range, and Gen Con is normally like 65. That's kind of where it kind of peaked before COVID. And yeah, you're right. There are. I usually like to describe Dragon Con as like a Hydra, a many-headed dragon. It has all of these different subsections, different tracks is what they call it, and a lot of it are based on a theme, whether it's a type of a particular show or a genre or whatever. I mean, everything from alternate history to fantasy to all these different things. So you really, yeah, there are all these different tracks to get involved with, and usually, if you're interested in one thing chiefly, you can focus on the different things going on in that track. But it's impossible to see everything. Very impossible. I mean, it's impossible to see half the things. It's impossible to see a quarter of the things. You will not. There's too much going on. You really have to pick and choose what you want, and sometimes it's hard decisions. They can be rough. Um, okay, so you're more of a gamer, then Gen Con would probably make more sense. And yeah, Voltaire is at Dragon Con. So yeah, yeah, his table was just a little about 30 feet away from us. In the past, we usually have a table next to him, but they kind of moved us this year, the last couple of years. Yeah, Voltaire is a great guy. He's hilarious. He is hilarious. Ah, so yeah, yeah, that's kind of the conventions. Always interesting. Now, of course, what happened was after the convention, I got some things settled over there and then made my way back, visited my uncle on the way back, which was always fun. And then then I got in late Thursday night into Austin. And then Friday, I had time to kind of get a few things together. And then this last weekend, I did the Sherwood Celtic Festival. And let me jump up with a picture of that. There we go. And the Sherwood Celtic Festival. So that went on, and I donned the kilt and played, did a lot of music there, which is a lot of fun. I mean, at least it was close and not much of a problem. Not very short days, pretty easy, and a lot of fun people. So different community, different types of music. So it was kind of weird going back from the sci-fi fantasy convention right into pure Celtic. It was interesting. Yes, and it was really awesome. It was a good one this year. I think it was a good crowd. They were really into it. Um, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and yeah, totally was a good festival. I know both of y'all went, and it was, yeah, definitely worth it. It's smaller. I mean, it's smaller than normally the Sherwood Forest Fair in attendance, but it's just a one weekend in the fall and the off season, so it kind of that makes sense. But a lot of fairs do that. It's kind of interesting how many fairs will do that. They will have something in the off season, like in the opposite time of the year, they'll do a pirate festival or a Celtic festival or just a one weekend, Halloween weekend or something like that to try to just do something in the off season because they have this land and they have this site and all of this infrastructure. Might as well use it when they can. I mean, in the past, several decades ago, they mainly just rented out to LARP groups um, or occasionally some TV shows or movies would film there, and that was what they had. But they've really fairs in the last 10, 15 years have really started to branch out in the off season, not just do weddings in the off season. It's a lot more things, so it's kind of cool. But of course, it also means that are many more options for events going on. So that can be a little overwhelming. And when you see when you see the Faire list later here tonight, you'll see what I mean. There's a lot going on this weekend. A lot going on this week. Right, right. Yeah, that most of it was downhill. It wasn't on the uphill part, so they only opened a part of the grounds, which I think that was smart, very smart. And yeah, yeah, I'm glad you liked it, kid. It was a lot of fun, a lot of fun. So yeah. Oh, and I also kind of went back and forth. I did half of the shows were solo, and the other half I did with David O'Leary, great musician and with a great voice. And yeah, he plays Alan of Dale normally at the Ren Fair there, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. We play music a bit usually during the Ren Fair there at Sherwood, but it's fun to do it for the Irish Festival too, and it kind of worked out. Although there was one little timing scheduling issue. They put me in back-to-back shows. They put me at a 45-minute block, a solo, and then the 45-minute block after that playing with David there. So yeah, so it was an hour and a half straight of show, which I've done before. It's not that crazy, but it's different. It was different. I'm glad I am a little used to it, or it could have been overwhelming. But no, it's a lot of fun, and it was a lot easier when you're doing solo work. If I was doing myself for an hour and a half, would be tough. But I do 45 minutes on my own, and then I switch back and forth on who sings with David, and that makes it a lot easier. A lot easier. Right, right. Yes, yes, yes. It is always an interesting time. But yeah, that's not the only thing going on. Of course, I'm sure. Right, I know. It can be, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun over the weekend. They do have a great festival there. No, definitely not. Uh, yeah, I mean, I've never really had a desire to try to get a Guinness World Record or anything, so I don't really have any interest in doing that. Oh yeah, those have been definitely. Yes, yes. Ed Miller is one of those staples for Celtic Festival down in this region, and he couldn't make it. He got ill or something. So, but that happens. I mean, that's why you have more than one performer at these festivals, because that kind of thing. You got to prepare for that. And there's still plenty of music. So while it was sad if you were really hoping to see Ed Miller, I mean, there was a lot of other cool stuff. They had a really good lineup, not just me, but a lot of fun. So yeah, other things going on are, well, of course, I'm sure most of you saw the news about the Queen's passing. So yes, Queen Elizabeth II um, passed away last week, and now the entire British Empire is everything's changed. Um, my laundry hamper with my pack basket. Yeah, I actually don't use that for laundry, believe it or not. Although it's not a bad idea. Yes, yes. Definitely an amazing person, regardless of your view on what kind of monarch she was. I think the main critics of hers didn't like that she remained quiet on a lot of controversial issues. She play, she walked that middle ground most of the time. She got along with both sides of the political landscape, and uh, maintained a level of stability, which, in her opinion, I think is what the monarchy was for. And considering the level of stability she brought in a very changing time in the British Empire, I can't say she was necessarily wrong, although yeah, her critics were pretty harsh about her not speaking up about some of the past atrocities the British have committed, and some of the questionable things the British have done over the last 70 years. So, yeah. And now, for those of you who've watched this show for at least a while, I did talk about her birthday last April, and her official birthday and the Queen's Jubilee going on in the summer. And at the time, I remember saying something of, I think just because of her stubbornness, she'll last a few more years. But unfortunately, she did not. Now, of course, I realized even over the weekend how many things are going to change because of her passing. Because now that we have a king, I was playing these songs at the Celtic festival that reference the Queen. I mean, the last 70 years of folk songs usually all talk about the Queen, sometimes mockingly, sometimes just as a matter of fact, sometimes uh, quite neutral. But it was crazy. Yeah, I mean, I had to kind of adapt to that. In a few of the songs, I even changed it to King as opposed to Queen, just to make it make sense now. And I think that's going to be a thing. Some songs are sort of based on a particular historical period, so they work fine. They'll stay with the whole Queen aspect. Others are more general as far as they could take place in the past or now. And I think people are going to probably start switching the songs up to say king as opposed to queen. So an interesting thing. Yeah. Oh, and I was gonna bring that up. Susan, you beat me to it. You beat me to it. Okay. Yeah, because of course the money changes. All of the money, and that's going to be pretty crazy. And of course, the coins in different parts of the world are going to be changed. And of course, then you have stamps. So, yep, I'm right there with you. Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes. And I think one thing her neutral stance kind of helped with the British Empire is generally she was fairly well liked around the world. Now there were some areas that, because of some of the past British atrocities or actions, that they were upset with the Queen for not speaking out about it. But in general, her neutral stance kind of uh, created a stability. I mean, the first prime minister she had to deal with was Winston Churchill. She's been around for a while. She's kind of seen it all, so I get it. I get it. Oh yeah, totally. It will stay spendable, but um, yes, yes, and yeah, you're right. I mean, it's changing, going to change so many things. Um, right, right. I totally see that. It's like for us when we go to a new year, and for those of us that still write checks or have to write the date on it on whatever, we always for the first couple of weeks we always do the previous year and make a mistake and have to cross it out. Yeah, I mean, you always do that every year. I mean, for the British, this is so ingrained. I mean, you have to be well over 70 years old to remember the last time there was a king. It is so, yeah, 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 and that's the other thing. I really don't think. I mean, now that we're going with Charles III, it is. I don't think it's going to be much different than what his mother was. I mean, a little bit, certainly. Um, yeah, I know it's a habit. But yeah, I really don't think he's going to be much different because he has spent decades training to be the monarch, the king. I mean, and learning from uh, his mother, Elizabeth. I mean, he's kind of been in training for decades. And seeing the tough part about being a monarch is not making those mistakes, understanding when these situations happen, this is how you react. He's been around to see so much of that. So I really don't think it's going to be that different. I think he's going to be a little less neutral than his mother, but I think he's going to probably try to toe that similar line. Um, yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. He's already made a few changes as far as well, just including some people in the family that were excluded before. So we'll see. Um, and yeah, you're right. Especially people remember him with the whole Diana uh, controversy for so long. So yeah, I mean, he's always going to be associated with that, even now. But honestly, he's the oldest um, person to become the monarch in England ever. He's in his 70s. So I don't think he's going to be around that long. No offense to him, but I mean, maybe 15 years, maybe. I mean, I just don't expect him to live to be 100. The genetics of the family just don't say that's going to happen, uh, no matter what medicine does. So I think he'll hit his upper 80s maybe, and that's it, and then we'll move on to his son. So it'll be an interesting time, but it'll be interesting to watch England get used to having a king. Uh, yeah, and it'll be interesting to hear the new songs talking about it because I know they're going to be, and I may be writing one myself. We'll see. Um, yeah, 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 yeah. It's just I don't know. I just don't see it. I do not see it happening. I don't see him living to 100, honestly. I'm not going to make the same mistake I made with his mother saying she had another few years, but we'll see. We'll see. But at the very least, he seems in pretty good health now, so I think he'll be around for a while. And regardless, they'll have to get used to a king. So I look forward to the songs and the faux pas and the transitions. But a lot is going on. A lot is going on. Hmm. Right, right, exactly. It's always tough. Oh, well, we're already getting close to 7:30, so let me jump on the fairs that are coming out because there are a ton. Oh my gosh, so many. Look at that, especially in the Northeast, and the New England area, a ton of fairs, a ton. It's crazy. Let's just jump full screen here and make this work here. Let's see. Yeah. Take a look. Okay. And have our friendly laser pointer. Yay! Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Okay. Now, what we have is over in the upper right, we have the King Richard's Fair in Carver, Massachusetts is still going on, 6 more weekends. And then the Connecticut Renaissance Fair, 5 more weekends of that in Lebanon, Connecticut is still going on. And then in New York, we have the New York Renaissance Fair with 4 weekends left in Tuxedo Park. Then jumping down to Pennsylvania, and boy, what are they doing in Pennsylvania? 4 different fairs going on this weekend. So yeah, we have right over here the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair in Mannheim, 7 more weekends there, and then the Pittsburgh Renaissance Festival, 2 more weekends in West Newton, Pennsylvania. Jumping over near the Pennsylvania Fair is an Enchanted Fairy Festival just going on Saturday in York, Pennsylvania. And then close to that, the Marcus Hook Pirate Festival in Marcus Hook, Pennsylvania. Again, Saturday only. So a few short 1-day events, but still a lot going on in Pennsylvania for sure. Then we have the Lakewood Renaissance Fair in Lakewood, New Jersey. That's just 1 weekend. And up in northern New Jersey, the Sparta New Jersey Renaissance Festival is its closing weekend there. So yes. Then going down to Maryland, the Maryland Renaissance Festival has 6 more weekends in Annapolis, Maryland. And down in Cortland, Virginia, 1 weekend only, the Harvest Fair. So something to check out. Okay, going over to Ohio, we have the Ohio Renaissance Festival, 7 more weekends there in Waynesville, Ohio. And the Michigan Renaissance Festival has 3 weekends left in Holly, Michigan. Now, some of you may have noticed the happy little star up in Canada, and I'll mention that. That's the Royal Medieval Fair in Waterloo, Ontario. It's only going on Saturday, but if you're in the area, something to check out in Canada. Always fun to see the Canadians enjoy some medieval and Renaissance giddiness. So, yes, then jumping over to Minnesota. We have the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, 3 more weekends there in Shakopee. And just north of that, in Wyoming, Minnesota, Yes, it's a place called Wyoming, Minnesota. What a confusing name. On Friday and Saturday, the Viking Fest, Minnesota is what it's called. So something to check out. Jumping down to Des Moines, Iowa for the closing weekend of the Renaissance Fair at Sleepy Hollow. And then going down to the Kansas City Renaissance Festival with 5 more weekends in Bonner Springs, Kansas, just west of Kansas City. And on the other side of Missouri, um, the St. Louis Renaissance Fair opens up for the first weekend at Wentzville, Missouri. Of course, going down to Texas, Texas is jumping in since it's not quite as cold as it used to be. I'm sorry, not quite as hot as it used to be, getting cooler. The Canterbury Renaissance Festival of Northeast Texas in Mount Pleasant, Texas, going on. And then over in Santa Fe, this is just a 1 weekend fair, but always a fun one. I have friends who have done it and have said really great stuff about it. I've always meant to check it out. The Santa Fe Renaissance Fair, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Then jumping up to Colorado in North Glen, Colorado, the North Glen Pirate Fest. So a little pirate fun in Colorado. And then all we have left is California. So we have the Northern California Renaissance Fair in Hollister, California, opening weekend. And then going down to the south, we have the Vista Viking Festival in Vista, California, 1 weekend only. So yeah, a lot going on. Woo! Okay, yeah, it's only about 7:32. I did all right. Not too bad. Okay, yay! That was close. So yeah. Ah, yeah. There is one in Texas. Right. And there was so much information. I didn't do a 7 reasons. I'm sorry, Susan. I'll have to come up with why T-Rex 7 reasons T-Rex arms are so short. That's the next one. Okay, I'll make sure that's next week. Um, and yeah, I tend to agree with you, Susan. I think it's one of those things where he looks at it as a matter of honor to his mother. I don't think she would have liked him to abdicate. I think it makes sense. I mean, just I don't know. I mean, maybe he will. Maybe he'll just let his son do it. I mean, there was always talk about that for years about him maybe doing that, but I think it's probably whatever his mother said he should do is probably what he's going to do. I'll just be honest about that. He was very much a very powerful, influential matriarch of the family in so many ways. So yes. Whew. All right. Oh, did it get canceled? I didn't hear that. Alicia sent me the information, so I didn't hear anything about that. So I'll check on that and get back to you on that. I know. I found the whole pirate festival in Colorado to be kind of funny too. Um, so yeah. Yeah. Thanks for your support. It's already 7:33. I figured I'd be lucky if I got out before 7:35 or 7:40 as it is. Did you see how many fairs? I tried to just jump them down. I didn't even mention the themed weekends because I was worried it would be too much. So yeah, since I took a weekend off, I was a little worried that I wouldn't have enough time to talk about everything. But maybe I was wrong. I managed to get through there. So for next time, I'll remember, don't neglect 7 reasons. I can always fit it in. Hmm. And you might be right, Susan. You might be right. Um, excellent. And yeah, a happy birthday. So excellent, and have a wondrous week. And I will be back for next week, I promise, with a good 7 reasons, and yeah, hopefully some more stories to tell. So have a good week, enjoy, and remember, always, no matter what happens, have a fair life. Take care.